Hello, everyone, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of It. Welcome to Derry episode 6, which is currently on HBO and HBO Max. For your viewing pleasure, this is the television show that serves as a prequel to Stephen King's novel of the same name, as well as the TV miniseries that came out in the 90s, I think, and recent films that came out just, about 5, 10 years ago, something like that. I don't know. Time gets away from me. But this is the prequel series that's supposed to explore the origins of Pennywise the Clown. Not so much the entity, not so much it, because we know what that is. It's an alien. It's some type of entity from space that invaded Derry thousands of years ago. But this will explore why we get the form of this clown, this dancing clown that terrorized the children in this town. And 5 episodes in, I'm so invested into this story. I'm enjoying the slow build to all of the questions, the answers to all of the questions that we may have had entering this show. And I say slow build, but it's at a real good tone. I mean, we just hit episode 6, and I think uh, we're at a breakneck speed as far as the storytelling, in my humble opinion, because I'm getting a lot of backstory. I'm also getting a lot of connections to the overall Stephen King universe, if you will. We're getting references to a lot of his works, Shawshank Redemption, to The Shining, and so on and so forth. I really like that element of it. If you're a Stephen King fan, you would enjoy all of the little Easter eggs and references. But if you are a fan of it, just it as a whole, I think this is it for you. Episode 6, we left off in episode 5. Uh, we finally got the reveal of Pennywise. We've been waiting, and we finally got him in the mid-season. Bill Skarsgård returning as Pennywise the clown, and it was a nice episode. That episode in the sewers with the encounter with the soldiers being decimated, and well, not that, well, a few of them got the business. Leroy inadvertently killed his best friend, before he could kill his own child. Uh, it just so much happened in 5. So where will we go from here? Well, this episode starts in black and white, and we go back. We go back to 1935, and we're at Jupiter Hill at the insane asylum where uh, this young girl named Mabel, I think her name was, she she's woken up by this nurse in the middle of the night, and she's taken down to the basement into this boiler room, and we see a floating red balloon, and that floating red balloon is grabbed by Pennywise, and immediately you're like, oh, you know, who's this little girl now? Now, my first thought was that was the Madeline Stowe character, the little girl. I didn't realize, I didn't put two and two together and get the reveal that we got later on. I'm gonna get to, but I'm like, okay, they're setting up something here that's gonna play big dividends to the current storyline that we're going through in 1962. And so we get that little cold open to the episode. Then we jump back to 1962, where we find Will being yelled at by Leroy, his father, for being in the sewers. Why were you there? I almost killed you. I had to kill my friend. I shot him. I killed him because of you. And I get it. He had every right to be mad, because the last thing you would think that your son, that your child would be in this sewer, while you're hunting down this entity. And he's already put in his mind that, whatever isn't supposed to be down there, to kill it. So he goes down there, and he knows that his son is not supposed to be down there. So there you have that. And he ended up killing his friend instead. So now he's mad. And Charlotte, the mother, tries to intervene. Um, but Leroy, he's at a 10. Actually, he's at an 11 or 12 at this point because he's hot. He's mad because it's not only what happened, but what could have happened. That was a no-win scenario. Either his friend died, which he did, or the alternative was his son died by his hand. So it was a lose-lose for him. So yeah, he is infuriated at this point. And so his son tries to leave the room. Will tries to leave out, and Leroy wasn't having it. He tells his dad that his friends need him and that he wouldn't let his friends die. And unlike Leroy, he went out of character. He slaps Will in the face, and this was a great scene. Not because the boy got slapped, but this was a great acting scene by everybody in here. Taylor Page, who plays Charlotte, Javon Adipo, who plays Leroy, and Blake James, who plays Will. Will did phenomenal in this scene. I loved the response, the reaction to the slap. It wasn't like, oh my God, you just slapped me. No, he cried. He did what a child would do. He was hurt, but it wasn't a hurt like the slap hurt, which I'm pretty sure it did because he, he slapped him to the ground, but he was more hurt by the fact that his dad hit him. And that was more painful than the actual slap. And you can see that on his face. It wasn't the slap itself, it was the act. And that's what I loved about that scene and how they emoted that through their emotions. And the response from Leroy once he did it, right after he did it, and that little look, he's still mad, but he knows that he messed up and he didn't react, but he reacted. You get what I'm saying? You have to see it, and if you saw it, you know what I'm saying. It's a real moment, and so that leads to Will leaving out the house, running out the house, and grabbing his bike and leaving. And so we go downtown where we see that Hank is on a lot of wanted posters. People are posting up these posters for Hank, who had escaped the bus, as we saw in episode 5, with the help of Madeline Stowe's character. And now everybody's on the hunt. They're on the hunt for him. And so Ronnie, and Lily, they're the gang, the losers. They're in their little spot, and Lily is showing off the dagger that saved her in the sewer that Tanya had left behind. And she's running down the story that that this dagger scared him. It scared him. He ran off after he looked at it, and it lit up when he was around, so she gets the idea that yes, we can defeat him with this. This can help us beat him. But Ronnie isn't having it. Ronnie at this point, she's to a wit's end because now her dad is on being hunted. She knows that it isn't like he's going to get recaptured. They're going to kill him. And she knows this at this point. So now she doesn't care. She doesn't care about this entity, the clown, the ghost, the visions. She doesn't care. She's ready to go. So her and Lily have a nice back and forth that wasn't so nice, to the point that Ronnie calls her crazy. And Lily wasn't happy. Lily, the young actress who plays her, Clara Stack, I think that's the young actress who plays Lily. Nice moment because she because she's been put in this asylum. She's been called crazy, and that's like a trigger for her. And she grabs the dagger. She just tightens her grip on the dagger, like she's gonna go after Ronnie for calling her that, because that's a trigger for her. And she doesn't do anything to her, but this ultimately leads to Ronnie running off, and Will goes behind her to try to calm her down, so to speak. And so Will and Ronnie, they have a moment. They're talking, and he's trying to convince her that we can help. we can help, we can fight this together, and so on and so forth. And they're about to have this moment. And for the first time, I felt so awkward. I felt so because these little kids, like they having this passionate moment where they're about to kiss, and it's like, wait, y'all really gonna do this? I don't want to see this. And right before they kiss, Charlotte pulls up and tells them to get in the car. So they get in the car. They go to the black spot, which is the little club that the black soldiers have created, that they can have their own little spot. And who's hiding out in there? None other than Hank. And there's a nice, sweet moment with Hank and Ronnie reuniting, and it was a beautiful moment. All the while, we have Dick, who is, we left him last when he was coming out of the sewers. His box has been unlocked. Now he's having these visions of dead people. He's the sixth sense, if you will, and he's trying to drink them away. He gotta. That's the only way to combat it in his mind. He has to drink, and he doesn't want no part of the Hank thing and all this here. He's done. He doesn't want anything else to do with this search. He's pretty much done because he feels that this is a lost cause with this, because it has pretty much damaged him. It allowed the box to be opened in his mind. Now he's kind of, his power is out of control, and now he wants to drink it away. So we have that to deal with when it comes to Dick. They're probably the one individual that can combat uh uh it, Pennywise, that is. And so we leave off, we pop in on Marge. She's in the little clubhouse area trying about to change out her bandage on her eye. She can't do it by herself, and Rich comes in, and they have a nice little scene as well. He offers to help her. He knows how to change bandages and this, that, and the third, and we get a our first look at the wounded eye that was gross, but but Rich was all right with it. Rich is so smitten by Marge, but I'm confused now. All this stuff that happened to Marge, we never saw her parents, and her parents is nowhere in the discussion. And I thought about this when we got later on in the episode when they were all at the black spot. These kids were at the black spot, and I'm like, where is Marge's parents? Because nobody is checking for their children now. Now I know the '60s were a different time. It was more trusting back then than it is now. But now, no, that wouldn't happen, man. We got trackers and uh everything else on our children, their phones and all this stuff. We make sure we know where they at, when they get there, and all this here, and how long they were there. And so it's a different time. So I'm gonna excuse it, but it's kind of odd. The girl almost took her eye out, and you never seen her parents at no point throughout the show. But that may change later on down the line. We'll see. But they change out the bandage, and we get our first little glimpse of Marge starting to turn a corner with Rich. Like, okay, maybe I do like him, the way he likes me. Uh, but I thought that was cute. That was a cute little moment. Um, we go back to Dick. Dick, he is just drowning himself in liquor, man, because this is just, I don't know how to describe it because I don't have the shine. So, but it is something that is weighing on him hard, that he has to go through this. He got new orders from Shaw, who's still on the hunt for the pillars. He can care less what happened to him. He's on the hunt. He don't care about the dead soldiers and all this here. So Dixie's one of the soldiers in the room, come walk in the room after Leroy comes and brings him the orders. And it's like, man, so this is what he's seeing. I can understand why he's drinking. if he's seeing this all the time, yeah, that would drive you crazy. It, Now, this was the scene where I kind of got mad at Leroy. I understand where he's at. I understand duty and all that, but sometimes it doesn't hurt to have just a smidge of empathy, just a smidge. The same thing like with his son. And now we go over here to Dick. Dick is explaining to him about his powers, about why this is a bad thing, that the box, that he has this box. His grandmother taught him this trick to keep those things in his box so he can function. Otherwise, he will go insane. And so he's explaining that he's really no good to them, in this state. And Leroy, it was like in one ear, out the other. He didn't care. You have a duty. You're a soldier. You got to do this and do that. It's like, come on, man. Put down the uniform for a second and be a normal human being and show some empathy for this guy. I mean, I understand you on a hunt for this thing, and it is an important thing, but can I take a breath, please? And even more so later on in the scene I'm going to get to with him and his wife. It was worse with that. And so he is so blinded by his duty that he doesn't see the forest for the trees, if you will. Matter of fact, let's get to that scene. And so Charlotte, she confronts Leroy and tells her what happened, because he asks, where's Will? And she's like, oh, he's with his friends or whatever. And they talk about Hank. And she tells him, she up front tells him, like, yeah, Hank is in the black spot. I put him there. I'm the one that put him there. And I'm going to drive him out of town. And after I drive him out of town, me and Will, we're going back to Shreveport. And so he's like, man, well, we need to straighten this out and all this here. And she's like, yeah, with your son. You need to straighten that out. And he's like, man, I'm doing everything I can to protect this country. I'm like, what? What about your family? You need to protect. That's your priority. I don't care what your job is, what your duty is. Your number one job is to protect your family. And that's first and foremost. After that, then to do it. But he is lost. He's so locked in on his job. And that is causing a wedge between him and his family. And so now you have that Brendan, you have that brewing with the possibility of them leaving Derry, which we know that's not going to happen, but that's on the table. Lily is she's freaking out. She's still having visions of what happened to her in the sewer. She's sitting in class. And while she's in class, she opens up her desk and she sees the mango pickle monster of her dad. And she freaks out in the class and she leaves. Elsewhere, we have Rich and Marge. They're eating lunch and they're talking. Then you have the what they call that group, the girls that come, that little clique. They come over and talk to Marge like, oh, you've been avoiding us and whatever. And come to eat lunch with us. And she's like, no, or do you want to stay here with the freaks, with the rest of the freaks? And so she looks over at Rick, and this is after Rich gave her a eye patch, as a gesture, a sweet little gesture. And she was like, oh, I always wanted to be a pirate. Cute little thing. And they have, once again, that little, I feel awkward saying it, but that little love is blossoming between these kids. And so you had that, and then the little group come over there and talk about Rich in front of his face and all this. And this causes her to get up and rip off the eye patch and said, I'm a freak too. It shows the eye, and one of the girls ended up puking, and she's embarrassed by it. So now they're going to be aiming to get back at Marge now and all this here. So that was a cool little scene to kind of get quote unquote revenge on them. So we fast forward and we get Lily. After leaving school, she goes to Ingrid, That's Margaret Stowe's character. She goes to Ingrid's house to talk to her. And so she opens the door, because it's open, doesn't see anybody. She goes upstairs and she finds this photo album. She goes, start flipping through the pictures, and suddenly we see this guy, and just dressed as normal, but they're at a carnival. And so as she's looking at the picture, and she's like, oh, he looks familiar. He looks real familiar. And as Ingrid comes in and she's looking around, and or did she see the clown picture at that? Oh, she did see a clown picture, but it wasn't like full Pennywise looking at that point. He just looked like a regular clown at a circus. And she's starting to put it together. Ingrid comes in, and then it dawns on her. She sees the costume that Ingrid wears, and she sees another photo, and she's like, "That's him. That's Pennywise." And Ingrid is like, "You saw him." And at that moment, it immediately clicked. Oh, like, she's the girl. She's Pennywise's daughter. And if you remember, she is the older woman in It Chapter 2 that attacked what's her name? Oh man, Jessica Chastain's character. What's her name? But anyway, attacks her in it. That's who that was. It's the same girl. Because she talked about her dad, and he was Pennywise the dancing clown and all this here. That's the same character. And so she tells the story about her dad, and runs the story about when she was a nurse there at Jupiter Hill, and pretty much replays the opening scene to this episode. And she basically brought the girl down there to feed, to be fed to Pennywise. Unknowingly, she didn't know at that time, but she knew that was her dad. She knew that was her dad. And he reveals himself to her, and we find out that not only is Pennywise her dad, but she's been running around town in that clown costume. So the picture that we saw in the cemetery of the clown with the weird shaped hair, that was her. That wasn't Pennywise, that was her. The clown that was standing outside of Will's window that time he got scared, that was her. And so she's been peeking in on the children in hopes that Pennywise would show up going after the children, because she wants to see her father. She wants her father back. And so I thought that was cool. And it really answered the question to why that picture, when those kids took the picture in episode 3, I think that was, the adults couldn't see the other pictures, but they saw the picture of the clown, but it was, from a distance, and it was blurry and all this here. So they couldn't really make it out, but they can see, I'm like, why could they see that one? The reason was because that wasn't the entity. That was an actual person, and it was Ingrid. And so that question got answered, and thankfully so. Thankfully so, because I have been secretly wondering why that picture was visible to the adults and not any other picture. And so we go back to the black spot, and now we have Ronnie. She refused to leave her father's side and go back to the sewers. Will, he won't give up, trying to convince her otherwise to come and help us, because he can work. We the only way this will work if we were together. So Will talks to Hank, try to convince him that way, and Hank is like, no, she's not leaving. I'm not gonna allow her to leave, but I understand you care for my daughter. And I thought that was a cool scene also, as a father, as a father of 2 girls, in fact, I get that scene. I get it 100%. Yeah, I get you care for her. I can see it in your eyes. I can hear it in your voice, but she's not going. Nah, she's not going. I appreciated it so much. So, at the same time, we have Chief Bowers, who just got fired. He's telling the group of Klansmen or whatever, he got a tip where Hank is, because they've scoured the whole city. They went through the sewers. They can't find him. And he knows where he is, but he can't do anything about it because he was just fired. And so now the troops are rallied to go and invade Black Spot. Now, at Black Spot, another awkward moment where the children, Will and not Will, Rich and Marge, they go to the counter, to the little bar to get a Coke. They just wanted a Coke, and the bartender fixed them a Coke, and they take a sip of it, and it's like, wait, this tastes funny. This is funny tasting Coke. And you're like, oh, that's the military Coke. You know, what you tasted is freedom. And I'm like, y'all really gave these children liquor. Y'all gave these children military Coke. And later on, Marge had a great line while she's obviously getting drunk off of this. She's like, oh, I love military Coke. I'm like, man, y'all really doing this to these children? Come on, man. Well, I guess it can't be any worse than eating them alive like they do on this show. But yeah, this is crazy, man. We got Rich playing the drums in the band and everything. They just didn't care. They didn't care that these kids are running around this nightclub ballroom, man. It's crazy to me. It's just odd, man. I was born in the wrong time. I should have been born 20 years earlier, and I probably would have had the time of my life back then. But while Rich is playing the drums, Marge is looking, and you can see the glimmer in her eye as she falls in love with Rich at that moment, hearing him play the drums with that band. And so everybody's dancing and having fun, but we all know that good times eventually come to an end. In the last scene of this episode, we see the white mob masked up arrive at the Black Spot with their weapons drawn, and the episode goes to black. This was not a heightened episode or a super exciting action-filled episode, gory episode, or anything like that we've experienced previously this season. But I think as far as story driven, this was one of the best episodes. I liked that we pushed the story along without having any gore or much anarchy going on. You know, this, because the anarchy is definitely about to happen. This was a breather episode that we needed to take after what we experienced last week in the sewers and what we're going to experience next week, what goes down in the Black Spot. If you don't know the story, I'm not going to spoil it here, but the Black Spot, it goes down. It goes down. We're in for a treat next week. If you are bored by just talking dialogue, nothing really happening this week, be patient. It's going to go down next week. But I did like this episode. We had some questions that got answered, and we have a few that were raised. So it's definitely keeping you engaged and excited and anticipating what's to come next. I would like to know, what do you think of episode 6 of It, Welcome to Derry on HBO? Are you liking it? Are you still engaged in this show, or are you bored with it, wishing that there was more Pennywise terrorizing children? I would love to know your thoughts. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube, and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the Concession Stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this recap of It, Welcome to Derry, episode 6. Want you all to know that I love you, continue to love everyone, and until we speak again, You all be blessed.